BusinessNet Explorer, product news podcast channel. This is B&E Product News, supporting specifiers and buyers. This podcast is sponsored by the B&E Product News podcast library. Well, hi, this is Mick DeLayburn for BusinessNet Explorer. In this edition of the B&E Brand Leader interview podcast for our Building World series, we discuss how to control humidity levels in the tightly controlled atmosphere of cleanrooms. Dave Marshall-George, UK Sales Director at Humidity Control Specialist Condair, joins us on the phone to help us to understand a bit more about this very specific form of environmental control. Oh, hi, Dave.
Hi, Mick.
So, let's start right at the beginning with this topic, Dave. Can you give me a quick overview of exactly what a clean room is and why it might need to control humidity?
Yeah, sure. A clean room is often a manufacturing or research environment where the quality of the air needs to be tightly controlled. You see, the air that we're breathing now is made up of three things: gases such as oxygen, liquids, typically water vapour, and solids, which could be things like pollen and dust. Now, in sensitive manufacturing areas like food or electronics, particles like pollen and dust could cause problems. So manufacturing like this takes place in what we call a clean room, where the number of particles in the air is managed by air treatment and filters. And depending on the processes taking place, the air's humidity and temperature often need tight regulation.
OK, what type of processes are we talking about that would need humidity control?
Well, it could be whenever materials are sensitive to moisture loss or gain, they would need air humidity that was in balance with their moisture content. This then stops them drying out or absorbing moisture from the air. Or it could be a certain humidity level is needed to cause a reaction, like paint or glue curing, or even stop a reaction. For instance, lithium-ion batteries need really low humidity, less than 1% RH, or the substances involved will literally explode.
Wow.
And lastly, clean room processes can be sensitive to electrostatic buildup, and we could be controlling humidity to a level above 45 to 50% RH to mitigate this.
Oh, we previously did a podcast on just that topic, and if any listeners are interested in static control, you can go check it out in the B&E podcast library or on Condair's podcast webpage.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, mate.
OK, so it sounds like there are many reasons to control humidity in a clean room, but from our previous chats, I know these types of issues happen in all sorts of manufacturing areas. So what's so special about clean room humidity control?
Yeah, correct. Moisture equilibrium, process reactions and static do occur in many applications. But I suppose what's special about clean rooms is the consistency and accuracy needed.
And why is that?
Well, these are often high-tech industries like semiconductor or pharma manufacturing, so conditions must be highly accurate for maximum productivity. There are also places where process requirements can change. A lab might need 60% relative humidity for one study and then 45% for the next. So sometimes flexibility is also really important.
OK, so what type of humidity systems would meet this type of need?
Well, on the humidification side, to accurately raise humidity, we need humidifiers that can fully modulate their output, which is a bit like a dimmer switch compared to a regular on-off light switch. Full modulation means the output goes from 1% right up to 100%, and therefore exactly meets the level needed. These types of humidifiers include resistive steam humidifiers, hybrid spray humidifiers, ultrasonics, and some forms of live steam systems with rotary valves. These are ones where the control valve can open just a little or all the way.
And on the dehumidifier side, what type of dehums are suitable for clean rooms?
Well, there are two types of dehum. There's condensing and desiccant, and both could be used in a clean room, but which is best will depend on the project.
How so?
Well, condensing dehumidifiers, they work a bit like a fridge, cooling the air down until the water condenses out. This type of dehum is quite energy efficient, but as it relies on cooling the air below its dew point, it doesn't work that well in colder conditions. And the accuracy with this type tends to be plus or minus 10% RH.
And if you need better accuracy than that, you'd use the other type, desiccant?
Most probably, you'd be considering that type, yeah. A desiccant dries air by absorbing moisture in a material, a bit like a sponge. And then a hot air stream dries the desiccant wheel and exhausts the moisture outside via a vent. This type can deliver much closer control and is effective at any temperature.
Sounds like a better option, Dave.
Yeah, it's the most popular choice for a clean room, but as I said, it really varies on the project itself.
Okay. And alongside these close control humidity systems, is there anything else needed?
Yeah, very accurate sensors. If a humidity sensor is monitoring an environment and sending an on-off signal to a humidifier or dehum, the accuracy of the room's humidity will be a combination of the sensor's ability to correctly monitor and the humidity system's ability to respond to that control signal. So if a sensor with plus or minus 5% control accuracy is being used, doesn't matter how responsive the humidifier or dehum is, it'll never be able to achieve better than plus or minus 7% overall control.
That makes sense.
Also, another factor is the temperature management system. Any change in air temperature will impact relative humidity. So if a room needs very consistent humidity, it also means the temperature must be well managed.
Okay, and I'm guessing the temperature sensor's accuracy is therefore just as important as the humidity sensor's was.
Oh, absolutely, Mick. It's a real combination, a kind of team effort between the humidity control system and its sensors, and the heaters and coolers and their sensors.
Okay, so everything has to be in balance then, and that sounds like a real science, getting everything just right.
Yeah, it can be. And to make it more complex, you've also got to think of the room as potentially having an undulating air profile rather than it being just a single number for either temperature or humidity across the whole area.
I get you. So varying levels?
Yeah, any source of local heat will produce a lower humidity in the area directly around it.
So what sort of thing might that be?
It could be a person, it might be a piece of machinery, it could be an aircon outlet or a cold glass window that actually does the opposite and causes a cold spot with a resultant higher humidity.
Okay. So how do you handle these little hot or cold spots?
Well, it's just about being aware of them, and that will help you manage the air and plan accordingly. And for instance, it's important to put sensors in the place where the control is needed the most. And this then gives the correct signal back to the humidifier or dehumidifier to adjust its output.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Okay, then, to recap. We've covered types of suitable humidity systems, temperature management, and the importance of sensors. So what's next?
Well, if we've decided on the type of humidifier or dehum we need, next is deciding on its size. What capacity ought it to be?
So how much water it can add or remove?
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
Well, the basic principle is quite simple. You need to figure out how much moisture you need to add or remove to reach your target condition. And we do this by plotting the start and end conditions on what's called a psychometric chart. This chart then gives you the difference in absolute moisture content between two conditions for a single kilo of air.
Okay.
And then we need to calculate how much air we have in total. And that means considering the size of the room, the people, the equipment, and any processes that create heat or moisture.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah, it can be, but that's why we always recommend reaching out to us for support at this stage of a project. We're always happy to offer free advice, and we'll even visit a site whenever needed to fully understand a project's requirements and make sure the correct type and size of equipment is chosen.
Okay, well, thank you, Dave. As always on these B&E Brand Leader bite-sized learning podcasts, you have taken a key humidity-related subject and shared your unbelievable industry knowledge and expertise to give us a real understanding of the issues and show us how to overcome them smoothly with specialist support.
Thanks, Mick.
To find out more about controlling humidity in clean rooms or to get in touch with the team at Condair, go to www.condair.co.uk. And to hear more B&E bite-sized learning podcasts exploring other humidity-related subjects with Dave Marshall-George, UK Sales Director at Humidity Control Specialist Condair, including the evaporative cooling opportunity for HVAC system specifiers, understanding the relationship between health and indoor air humidity, optimising humidity control to increase profits for food and drink manufacturers, how dehumidifiers can improve safety and efficiency in cold stores and freezers, how to select and size a dehumidifier, how to control static by controlling humidity, and how to select and size a humidifier. Just head for the B&E podcast library, or you can check them out on Condair's podcast webpage. Well, thank you for joining us for this latest edition of the B&E Product News podcast. And please, stay safe. Follow us on Twitter at B&E Product News to keep updated on our latest product news podcast releases, and visit us at businessnetexplorer.com to find more product news and information for specifiers and buyers in the construction and building services and associated manufacturing and energy sectors. BusinessNet Explorer podcasts are now available via the Apple Podcasts app, iTunes and on Spotify. You can subscribe to access our existing content and, of course, to receive every new podcast that we publish in audio format.